Hey guys, today I'm bringing you a psychological thriller movie about twins. Two people with two different fates, but with the same exact faces. What will happen when they meet? Let's watch the movie together. At a university in Germany, Shen Man Ning sat down to paint her picture. Her best friend, Mei Na, ran up to her with a gift box sent by her mom and Shen Man Ning's dad. Inside was a picture of her parents, along with a note from Shen Man Ning's father. Mei Na saw the picture Shen Man Ning was painting and knew she was copying the Twin Rose painting by the professor. All Man Ning had to do was finish the painting to complete the class and graduate. Then she could go back home to her father. Mei Na was a little annoyed, but still happy for her. She told Man Ning the legend of the flower she was painting. These flowers always depend on each other, growing together, with their backs pressed against each other. When the flowers finally bloomed under the hot sun, they would turn and face each other just once. But after that look, either both roses would die, or one would wither and the other would bloom alone. Mei Na used Man Ning as an example, telling her that if she ever met someone who looked exactly like her, she would have to face the consequences of fate, or maybe even death. But Man Ning didn't believe her, and walked away. Mei Na followed behind her. At that moment, Zhuang Xinyan walked past her. She looked just like Man Ning, but had a completely different fate. Zhuang Xinyan is the daughter of the Zhuang family. Her grandpa sent her overseas to study for her safety, waiting for the Zhuang family and Lam Hai to stabilize before bringing her back. While walking on campus, a classmate approached her, wanting to be friends, but she refused. Later, Xinyan received a call from someone. She was panicked and remembered the scene of an accident that happened 17 years ago. The caller asked to meet. Xinyan hurried to the meeting place. Someone was following her, and she noticed. Man Ning was walking with Mei Na when a classmate told her someone was looking for her and was waiting for her outside. She was a little surprised but went to meet them. When she arrived, Man Ning asked the person why they were looking for her. Lin Mufan said he was sent by Chairman Zhuang to pick her up and bring her back to the Zhuang family. Man Ning told him she didn't know him. Lin Mufan said she had been overseas for so long, she probably didn't remember him. He introduced himself as the person sent by Chairman Zhuang Cheng'an and his dad. Lin Guangyi, to pick her up. Man Ning still felt strange and said he must have met the wrong person. Mufan insisted he was there to find Zhuang Xinyan and that she was the person standing in front of him. Man Ning heard the name the man was looking for and chuckled. She corrected him, saying she was Shen Man Ning, a senior in the design department of the art school. She was sure he had the wrong person. As she turned to leave, Mufan stopped her, saying she looked exactly like the person he was looking for. Man Ning was startled when she saw the picture Mufan showed her. She felt a bit uncanny but quickly walked away. After getting rid of her stalker, Xinyan rushed to the meeting place. Meanwhile, Man Ning couldn't help but be surprised. She called Mei Na to tell her what happened. Just at that moment, Xinyan and Man Ning ran into each other in front of the Twin Rose painting. They both stared at each other and froze for 5 seconds. After going outside, Man Ning continued her conversation with Mei Na. She asked again about the story Mei Na had told her about twins. What happened when they met? Mei Na repeated the story in disbelief. But before she could finish, someone covered Man Ning's mouth from behind. She struggled and choked out a few sounds before she fainted. Xinyan was still on her way to the meeting place. A classmate approached her and said he had seen someone help her into a car earlier. He wondered why she was here. Xinyan was confused. The classmate pointed to the car and said that was the car someone helped her into. The car was slowly driving out of the school. Xinyan was afraid of being discovered and turned away. But as the car passed her, Xinyan saw Man Ning unconscious inside. Yanxing Cheng was waiting at the school gate for Xinyan, and since she was taking too long, he called her. She answered, saying she had to save someone first. At that moment, the car that kidnapped Man Ning passed by him. He was surprised to see someone who looked exactly like Xinyan in the car. Man Ning woke up a while later. She was tied up. The man driving the car was on the phone, reporting that he had caught her. Man Ning saw an opening and attacked, but she was no match for him, and was quickly pushed to the back of the car. Then, Xinyan's car rammed into the back of the car, that was kidnapping Man Ning, causing both of them to be dazed. Xin Yan quickly got out of her car and rescued Man Ning. On the way, Xin Yan explained everything, saying that she had got Man Ning involved. The people who kidnapped her were targeting her, so she would take Man Ning back to school first, and she would deal with the rest. Soon, the car that kidnapped Man Ning was following them. The situation was urgent, so Xin Yan gave her phone to Man Ning and asked her to call for help. But she didn't notice a container truck in front of them. Xin Yan wanted to protect Man Ning, so she stood in front of her. After the accident, the container truck drove away. Hearing a loud noise, Yan Xingcheng ran over, worried. Yan Xingcheng's teammates were shocked at the disastrous scene. Jin Yan and Man Ning were taken to the hospital. The three of them waited outside. The doctor came out and announced that Xin Yan had suffered a broken sternum. The bone had pierced her heart and lungs, leading to her death. Man Ning, because she was protected, was still alive, but she had suffered serious external injuries, especially to her eyes. She had been stabbed by glass shards that pierced her cornea. She would be blind for the rest of her life. When Xingcheng heard the announcement, he stood up and tried to leave. Xingcheng walked out of the operating room, distraught. He went to the mirror, clenched his fist, and punched the glass. His eyes were full of hatred. Blood dripped from his hand to the ground. The doctor inside started the cornea transplant for Man Ning. 15 days later, Man Ning woke up. The first person she saw was Yan Xingcheng. She was wary of him and asked who he was. He introduced himself as her fiancé. Man Ning was scared. She denied it. She didn't have a boyfriend, so how could she have a fiancé? She moved to the edge of the bed and kept her distance from Xingcheng. After a while, she realized he had mistaken her for Xin Yan and reminded him he had the wrong person. Xingcheng immediately rejected her, saying that she was Zhuang Xin Yan and Shen Man Ning was dead. Man Ning said no, but she looked at the name on the bed at the end of the bed. It was Zhuang Xin Yan. Man Ning panicked and ran outside. She saw Xingcheng's teammates blocking the door, and she ran to the rooftop in agitation. She threatened to jump if they took another step forward. Two of Xingcheng's friends tried to calm her down and help her to calm down. Xingcheng walked towards her without any hesitation. Man Ning saw this and jumped to the other side of the balcony, saying she would jump. She cried her eyes out and was about to wipe her tears away when Xingcheng told her to stop. He explained everything to her. In the accident with the two people in the car, one died. So if she could still stand here, who would have died? This question made Man Ning pause for a moment and recall the night of the accident. Her life and her eyes belonged to Zhuang Xin Yan. That's why Xingcheng forced her to live on for her. Man Ning was Zhuang Xin Yan. Man Ning shook her head and refused, but then she accidentally slipped and fell. Luckily, Xingcheng grabbed her hand in time. Two of Xingcheng's friends ran over and pulled Man Ning back up. When she was pulled up, Man Ning was still scared and clung to Xingcheng. Later, she realized her actions were inappropriate and let go. When she calmed down, Man Ning sat in a corner and thought back to what Xin Yan had told her before she died. She asked Man Ning to return to the Zhuang family for her and help her regain control of the Lanhai Corporation. At that time, Yan Xingqing came out. Man Ning told him that she was saved by Xin Yan, and her eyes were also from Xin Yan. She decided to go back to the Zhuang family with him and replace her for 1 year. Xingcheng heard this and reached out his hand to her. Man Ning took his hand. On their way back to China, Man Ning was anxious. Before they started, Fang Sheng told her that Zhuang Xin Yan's parents had an accident when she was 7 years old. Her father died, and her mother went missing. Jing Yan's grandfather, Zhuang Cheng'an, didn't want her to be affected, so he sent her overseas, waiting for a chance to bring her back. But recently, the Lanhai Corporation had a major crisis, and Zhuang Cheng'an couldn't handle it, so he collapsed. Zhuang Xin Yan had to return to stabilize the Lanhai Corporation, get back the 40% shares left by her mother, Zhuang Kai Xuan, and become the heir of the Lanhai Corporation. Man Ning couldn't memorize all the information about the Zhuang family in a short period of time, so she took out a notepad to review it. Before starting the process of replacing Shen Yan, Man Ning had to memorize all the information related to Zhuang Shen Yan so that she wouldn't expose any flaws. She was concentrating on memorizing when she was discovered by Xing Cheng. He didn't hesitate to take the paper from her hand and burn it, saying that she was acting as if she wasn't Zhuang Xinyan. On their way to the Zhuang family, Feng Sheng heard the media report that today, the board of directors of the Lanhai Corporation would be signing a new appointment and dismissal order. Zhuang Jia, the son of Zhuang Kaishuan, the second daughter of Zhuang Chengyun, was very likely to become the heir of the group and take over the position of the third-generation CEO. Yan Xingcheng heard this, of course. He chuckled and told Wan Shuai to turn around and go to the Lanhai Corporation. In the meeting room, Zhuang Jiakai arrogantly pressured the shareholders to agree to appoint him as the CEO of the group. The shareholders were still hesitant. When they were about to sign, Fang Xiang entered and gave reasons why he wasn't the only heir to the group. Jiakai naturally couldn't accept this and wanted to kick him out. Then Man Ning appeared, looking a little scared. She stood aside and let Yan Xingcheng stand in front of the shareholders to explain who she was and why she was there. Her presence caused the appointment to fail, and Zhuang Jiakai couldn't say anything. Man Ning walked out of the company, her steps hurried and unsteady. Luckily, Xing Cheng caught her. He quickly took her back to the Zhuang family. Today's events angered the person behind Zhuang Xinyan's accident. He thought she had died overseas. His subordinate wanted to continue to deal with this imposter, Xinyan, but he stopped him. He knew it wasn't easy to act in China like it was overseas, so for now, he would just let her taste the bitterness of living a miserable life in the Zhuang family. Upon arriving at the Zhuang family, Man Ning was still a little bit worried, not knowing why she would accept to return here. The first person to greet her was Lin Guangyi, the butler of the Zhuang family. He didn't recognize Yin Yan in front of him as Man Ning's replacement. Xing Cheng introduced himself as her fiancé, and he had come back to meet her family and take care of some business. As they walked inside, they saw a seascape painting hanging on the wall. Xing Cheng looked a little unusual, but he quickly recovered his composure. They met Zhuang Kaishuan. She was very surprised to see Man Ning disguised as Zhuang Jinyan. They exchanged words for a little bit, and then Xing Cheng and Man Ning went to visit her grandfather's room. Zhuang Chang'an was lying weakly in bed. The butler walked over and called out. Man Ning went to the bedside and timidly held his hand. After returning to her room, Man Ning couldn't understand why she had agreed to return and become Zhuang Xinyan. She said to herself that she couldn't do it. After regaining her mental, she went to explore the room. There were shoes, handbags, jewelry, designer clothes. She had everything. While she was looking around, Yan Xingcheng walked in and handed her a suitcase. He said that when she was Zhuang Xinyan, these things were all hers. Man Ning knew, of course, that she could never be Zhuang Xinyan for the rest of her life, so these things couldn't belong to her. Man Ning took a stroll in the garden, thinking about whether she could truly help Xin Yan fulfill her wishes. She was lost in thought and didn't notice anyone behind her. Suddenly, Man Ning was drawn to something and walked forward. The person behind her withdrew. Man Ning wanted to go towards what she had seen, but Lin Mufan saw her. He recognized her as Shen Man Ning and called out to her. She unconsciously answered and turned around. Man Ning saw it was Mufan, so she quickly left. But he blocked her and questioned her. Man Ning tried to deny it, saying she was Zhuang Xinyan, and she even mentioned a childhood memory, which made him believe her. She quickly said that she had something to do and left without paying attention, dropping her phone. Mufan wanted to confirm whether she was really Zhuang Xinyan or not. He wanted to call her to see if she had his number on her phone. Man Ning was worried that she would be exposed, but then a phone rang from the other side. Yan Xingcheng was holding the ringing phone. Man Ning finally breathed a sigh of relief. Xingcheng walked over and introduced himself as Xin Yan's fiancé. Mufan had nothing else to say, so he dropped the matter. Back in the room, Yan Xingcheng strongly lectured Man Ning, forcing her to let go of her past. She could only be Zhuang Xinyan now. Man Ning wanted to explain, but he said that no one in the Zhuang family would allow her to make mistakes. She had to obey. Yan Xingcheng gave her his instructions and was about to leave, but Man Ning questioned him back. What was his real purpose in bringing her back to the Zhuang family and forcing her to become Zhuang Xinyan? Was it just like the others, wanting to get everything from the Zhuang family? Hearing these words, Xingcheng got angry, walked towards her, and grabbed her by the neck. His face got closer. Man Ning was scared and closed her eyes. Yan Xingcheng leaned into her ear and threatened her. She had no right to know his purpose. She just had to obediently be Zhuang Xinyan. Otherwise, next time, he wouldn't come to save her. Xingcheng eventually left, and Man Ning sat down, gasping for air. After graduation, Mei Na returned home to visit Man Ning's mother and father. Her mother was very happy to see her daughter again. She also announced that she had found a job. Seeing that Mei Na had returned and found a stable job, Man Ning's father was worried about Man Ning. Mei Na, seeing this, took out Man Ning's graduation work to comfort her father. The next day, Fang Xiang, Yuan Shuai, and Xing Cheng went out, leaving Man Ning at the Zhuang family. They hadn't gone far when Xin Yan's grandfather's condition took a turn for the worse. He needed to be taken to the hospital for emergency treatment. After the examination, the doctor said that the chairman had severe kidney failure and needed a kidney transplant. All the Zhuang family members had to stay at the hospital to have their blood drawn to find a compatible kidney. Man Ning heard the announcement and was immediately worried. She quickly seized the opportunity to call Xing Cheng to tell him, but he didn't answer. Jing Cheng and his teammates were looking for clues about the accident from a dozen years ago. They found a new clue. The kidnapper and the person who collided with them in Zhuang Xinyan's accident a few months ago weren't from the same group. This showed that more than one person was involved. On this side, Man Ning kept calling Xing Cheng anxiously. Suddenly, Zhuang Jiakai snatched her phone. He suspected that she wasn't the real Zhuang Xinyan. He threatened her, saying that if he found out she was a fake, he wouldn't forgive her or the people around her. Then, he arrogantly walked away. In the blood drawing room, Man Ning was restless, trying to stay calm so that the nurse could draw her blood. At this time, Xing Cheng, after checking the location and monitoring through the hospital's cameras, learned about the situation Man Ning was facing. He immediately rushed over. When he entered the room, Man Ning had just finished having her blood drawn. When she saw Xing Cheng, she wanted to quickly tell him what had happened. But Xing Cheng just took her out and told her that he would handle everything. The two of them entered the elevator. The nurse carrying the blood samples left. Jia Kai's subordinates followed. Near the elevator, Xing Cheng's teammate pretended to be a patient in need of emergency treatment. When he walked near the blood samples, he bumped into them, causing Man Ning's blood sample to roll into the elevator with Xing Cheng and Man Ning. Jing Cheng's teammates successfully escaped from the scene and carefully disabled the camera. Xing Cheng, wanting to make Man Ning's blood sample useless, took some of his own blood and mixed it with hers. She saw him take his own blood and was a little scared. After leaving the hospital, Man Ning was still afraid. Xing Cheng bought her a bottle of water so that she could calm down. He reminded her that this wasn't the last time. The Zhuang family would constantly investigate her background before she became the heir, so she had to adjust her mentality and forget about the past. She had to become Zhuang Xinyan as soon as possible. Man Ning asked back, "What if I can't do it? What if I can't become Zhuang Xinyan? I'm just an ordinary girl. How can I become a young lady who inherits the Zhuang family and the Lanhai Corporation? I'm so scared. I can't go on. I owe you in Xinyan. I'll pay you back, even for my eyes." Xing Cheng angrily grabbed her by the neck, saying she didn't consider the consequences of giving up. He left her there crying and drove away. Later, he came back and threw Man Ning's passport on the seat, saying she had to go back to the art school tomorrow. When she left this place, she would no longer be Zhuang Xinyan. The Zhuang family and the Lanhai Corporation would have nothing to do with her anymore. If anything happened, she shouldn't come back. Then he turned around and left again. He returned to meet Yuan Shuai and Fang Xiang and announced that they would move to Plan B. In the hospital, Xing Cheng went to the chairman's ward and took Xin Yan's grandfather out. Man Ning was packing her things in the room. She took out the shirt she was wearing the day of the accident and found a hair clip. She recalled that day. Jin Yan used her last bit of consciousness to give her that hair clip and told her some last words. She was reminiscing when she heard a commotion outside. She cautiously went to see what was happening. It turned out that Jia Kai and his subordinate were whispering about how Man Ning's blood sample was problematic, and they couldn't find anything. Jia Kai wasn't satisfied with the results, so he wanted to personally go to the hospital to monitor the situation. Man Ning overheard this and called Xing Cheng, but he didn't answer. Jing Cheng and Yuan Shuai were in the basement garage, taking the chairman away. They were leaving just when Jia Kai's car arrived. Xing Cheng hid. He waited for him to leave and then quietly left with the chairman. But there was a mistake. The chairman's foot touched a nearby car, causing an alarm to sound. Jia Kai was alert and turned around. He went to the car. Before he arrived, Yuan Shuai pushed the wheelchair, and Xing Cheng hid somewhere else. Seeing that there was nothing by the car, he and his subordinate continued to go to where Xing Cheng was hiding. Luckily, Man Ning arrived in her car just in time. After sorting everything out, Xing Cheng went to ask Man Ning why she came back. She didn't answer immediately but asked him what he wanted to do. Jing Cheng said he couldn't get the shares and the Lanhai Corporation for Xinyan. He couldn't fulfill her wish, so he would destroy everything in the Zhuang family and the Lanhai Corporation. Then he left. Man Ning tried to ask him again who he was and why he dragged her into this vortex. He wasn't attached to the Zhuang family or the Lanhai Corporation's wealth. If it wasn't for money or people, what was his purpose? Xing Cheng also said directly that he loved Xinyan the most. He could give up everything and he could destroy everything for her. If he couldn't get her, he would destroy the entire Zhuang family and the Lanhai Corporation. Even if he had to suffer the consequences, he would do it. But none of this had anything to do with Man Ning. He told her to quickly take her passport and plane ticket and fly back to the art school. Man Ning finally decided to stay and protect Xing Cheng. She knew that even if she spoke, it would be useless, but she couldn't let Xinyan's and her parents' hard work be destroyed. Xinyan, of course, wanted to see them protecting the Zhuang family and the Lanhai Corporation. Xing Cheng was persuaded and continued to let her participate in his plan. In the world of advancement, there's no such thing as love, whether it be family affection, friendship, or love. Everyone is like crocodiles in a swamp. For their own benefit, they can do anything. If you're in the swamp and don't turn into a ruthless crocodile, you'll be torn apart by the group. The feeling of fear came back. Xing Cheng comforted her, saying that as long as she maintained her role as the young lady of the Zhuang family, well, he and his teammates would help her handle other things. He also promised that in a year, he would safely bring her back to her world. On the day the results of the Zhuang family's DNA test were released, Jia Kai's subordinate went to get the results. Taking advantage of a moment of carelessness, Yuan Shuai switched the results. When Jia Kai learned that Man Ning had the same bloodline and was the mistress of the Zhuang family, he became furious and shouted. Butler Guang Yi, standing to the side, reminded him to be careful of his words. Mrs. Kai Xuan only cared about the chairman's condition. Jia Kai also wanted to personally monitor the situation, so the mother and son and the butler went to the hospital together. In the hospital, Fang Shang and Yuan Shuai were in the ward monitoring the situation. Knowing that the Zhuang family was coming, Fang Shang went out to deal with them, blocking them from entering. But in the end, he couldn't stop them. Faced with this situation, Fang Shang secretly called Xing Cheng. Everyone rushed into the ward. Jia Kai was about to call his grandfather awake when Man Ning arrived and told everyone to stop. She said that the chairman needed to rest and asked everyone to leave. Mrs. Kai Xuan saw something unusual. She quickly went to the bed, lifted the blanket, and found that there was no one there. She turned around and was about to slap Man Ning. Xing Cheng arrived just in time to help her. Mrs. Kai Xuan hurriedly told her son to seal off the hospital and then called the police. At that moment, the chairman's voice rang out. Fang Shang pushed the wheelchair and the chairman went in. He announced that he was handing over the Zhuang family and the Lanhai Corporation to Man Ning. She was surprised, while Mrs. Kai Xuan and her son were so angry that they couldn't do anything. That night, Xing Cheng went to Man Ning's room and proposed that they share a room, saying that since she was now the heir of the Zhuang family, she needed someone to protect her 24/7. He could also help her with her professional knowledge. Man Ning didn't feel comfortable, but she had no choice but to agree. The next morning, at exactly 6:30 a.m., Xing Cheng dragged Man Ning, who was still drowsy, out of bed to go for a run. He gallantly helped her put on her shoes, chose her lipstick, and tied her hair so that she looked like the most well-dressed young lady of the Zhuang family. In the evening, Xing Cheng was sleeping on the sofa and had a nightmare. The scene of the accident appeared again. The images were blurred, blood and water mixed together. Xing Cheng was submerged in water and tried to struggle. Man Ning, who was sleeping, heard a noise and woke up. Seeing Xing Cheng mumbling, she worriedly ran over to call him. He was unconsciously choking her in his dream. Luckily, he woke up. He reminded Man Ning not to get close to him when he was sleeping. Mei Na was hired as a trainee assistant in the second design department of the Lanhai Corporation. Her first day of work was the same day as the new CEO appointment. Jia Kai was still in the meeting room, proudly thinking that Man Ning couldn't take that position, and he even mocked her with his colleagues. When Man Ning and Xing Cheng appeared, he fell silent for a few seconds before speaking again. He planned to get ahead of her, but her acting skills were no joke. She confidently sat down on the chair reserved for the CEO and persuaded the shareholders to rest assured that she, along with Yan Xingcheng, would lead the company back to the top of the industry. Then she walked out of the meeting room with full confidence. Mei Na was nearby and saw Man Ning, but she wasn't sure. She was trying to see clearly when a hand covered her vision. She turned around and found it was Yuan Shuai. The girl immediately collapsed before his handsome appearance and was about to say something else when Yuan Shuai coldly said, "You got the wrong person," and left, leaving Mei Na regretful for not asking his name. After arriving in her office, Man Ning was given an additional task by Xing Cheng. He told the secretary to bring all the documents related to the Lanhai Corporation's violation of overseas bond contracts. Jia Kai wanted to block Man Ning's way, so he found a way to hide the documents through the chief financial officer. Xing Cheng noticed something strange after examining the documents. He checked again and found that the documents in the finance department had disappeared, and the chief financial officer in charge of overseas securities had taken a month's leave and had booked a flight overseas urgently for this afternoon. Xing Cheng and Man Ning rushed to catch up. At this time, the chief financial officer also received a notification and quickly got in a car to go to the airport. The two cars waited at the red light. The chief financial officer realized that the car next to him belonged to Man Ning and told his driver to turn around. Xing Cheng called Fang Xiang. Fang Xiang found out that the car belonged to the chief financial officer, so he chased after him. After stopping the car, the chief financial officer ran up the stairs. Man Ning also ran after him. He explained everything and thought she was easy to deceive, so he threw the file down. Man Ning ran down to pick it up, while Xing Cheng slowly walked up. He took his tie, wrapped it around the chief financial officer's neck, threw him down, and threatened him to hand over the list. Scared, he revealed where the list was hidden. After getting the list, they both returned to their office. While trying to figure out a solution, Man Ning noticed Xing Cheng twisting his wrist. He looked at her. She quickly returned to the pile of documents. They had 3 days left to pay back the debt to the foreign bank. What they needed to do was find loopholes in the bond agreement or transfer funds to pay off the bank debt. In this way, the Lanhai Corporation's crisis would be resolved. Man Ning stayed at the company until late at night. She noticed that Xing Cheng was napping and was about to go over and apply some ointment for him when he woke up. Xing Cheng continued working. Man Ning moved closer to him to point out the parts he needed to pay attention to. When she looked back at him, they were very close. Embarrassed, Man Ning stood up and went back to her desk. But he called her back, rolled up his sleeves, and motioned for her to apply the ointment. Man Ning carefully applied the ointment for him, and even blew on it, making the atmosphere between them suddenly sweet. Fang Xiang and Yuan Shuai went out to buy coffee and food. They didn't want to go in after seeing the scene inside. Yuan Shuai walked out into the lobby and saw Mei Na looking for him since morning. The girl kept touching him, which made him instinctively defend himself. Fang Xiang came out, saw his teammate doing this to a girl, and rushed over to stop him. In the end, this resulted in a ridiculous situation. Man Ning and Xing Cheng, along with his team, kept searching for a solution. Suddenly, Man Ning had an idea. She came up with a solution for the departments to quickly mobilize funds in order to pay back the bank in time. When the deadline for repayment arrived, the phone on Man Ning's desk rang. She was so worried that she let Xing Cheng answer the phone. Finally, the corporation's crisis was resolved. Man Ning was happy and breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that all their efforts had been successful. When they returned to the Zhuang family, Man Ning was so tired that she fell asleep. He gently unbuckled her seatbelt and watched her sleep for a long time before he got out of the car. The next morning, she went out for a walk and met her grandfather. They chatted. He asked her to push him to the greenhouse, where her parents had designed, decorated, and planted flowers. But after they died, the flowers in the greenhouse withered with them. Xing Cheng stood behind, listening. Seeing that her grandfather was a little sad, Man Ning took on the task of renovating the greenhouse and planting more flowers, so that by the end of the summer, it would be full of flowers. She looked around the greenhouse and saw Xing Cheng, so she invited him to plant flowers with her. This reminded him of his childhood memories. He had played and planted flowers with Xin Yan's family here. Seeing that Xing Cheng was sitting on the side, not doing anything, Man Ning went over and urged him. But he just sat there, because he knew that flowers couldn't be grown here. Man Ning felt like she was being doused with cold water. She stood up and retorted. Then she splashed mud on him. Man Ning saw the result of her efforts and laughed out loud. Feng Xiang and Yuan Shuai saw this and froze. Suddenly he stood up, put her on his shoulder, ignoring her struggles, and went straight into the house. He went to the bedroom, in front of everyone in the house. In the room, he put her on the sink, pressed her close to him, and told her to wipe the dirt off him. Man Ning obediently followed, and their eyes met. He said he wouldn't spare her next time, and left, leaving Man Ning blushing and covering her face. The next morning, Boss Shang, the director of the Lu Guang Company, the rival of the Lan Hai Corporation, and his sister Tang Lin suddenly came to see Man Ning. They said that the Lan Hai Corporation's product display design was copied from theirs, and demanded that the product be recalled and that compensation be paid to their company. The two companies immediately held a meeting to negotiate. Man Ning and Xing Cheng quickly found reasons to appease the other party, but it wasn't easy. Lu Guang seemed to have the upper hand. He was proud and wanted to push Lan Hai Corporation into a corner, so he left first. Man Ning and Xing Cheng immediately investigated the matter. He suspected that someone had leaked the design, or that a designer had been bribed and deliberately took a design that had already been registered and submitted it to the Lan Hai Corporation's design department, participating in the exhibition. Their purpose this time was to target the Lan Hai Corporation. They wanted to use the issue of copyright infringement to make the company, which had just escaped a crisis, be blacklisted by the industry, restricting exports and shipments. This way, the company's market share and stock price would plummet, and then it would be acquired quickly. To solve the problem, Man Ning decided to start from the source. First, she would recall the products at the jewelry exhibition. Then, she would design a new set of products before the opening of the exhibition, so Lu Guang wouldn't have any reason to complain or sue. Xing Cheng agreed with Man Ning's solution. Xing Cheng set out to retrieve the products, while Feng Xiang and Yuan Shuai went to find a 3D printer. When they were leaving, they met Mei Na. Feng Xiang took her along. Man Ning stayed behind and worked with Lin Mufan to design a new set of products within a limited time. Tang Lin, after the meeting at Lan Hai, was smitten with Xing Cheng. She investigated him but could only find out about his whereabouts after he returned to China. Before that, she couldn't find anything, which made her more and more curious. In the office, Lin Mufan came up with the idea of basing this set of products on the Twin Rose painting. Man Ning thought this was good, because it would not only preserve the style of Lan Hai, but also create a difference from other products, so she agreed with this idea. When she saw Man Ning sketching, Lin Mufan suspected that she was Shen Man Ning, because that was how a designer would draw. They were working when the secretary rushed in and reported that there were a lot of reporters in the lobby who wanted to meet to ask about the copyright infringement and plagiarism. Everything was in chaos. Lin Mufan went down to answer the reporters, hoping to calm things down, leaving Man Ning alone in the room. At this time, someone was sneaking in front of Man Ning's office door, locking it. Then they released poisonous smoke into the air conditioning system. After a while, smoke started to fill the room. Man Ning immediately ran to the door, but it wouldn't open. She stumbled to get her phone but couldn't resist, and collapsed to the ground. The employees outside saw the smoke and ran away. Feng Sheng, Yuan Shuai, and everyone else in the lobby heard the alarm. Just at that time, Xing Cheng returned. When he heard the secretary say that Man Ning was still trapped in the room, he and Yuan Shuai ran upstairs to find her. They broke down the door and rushed in. They saw her lying unconscious on the ground. He worriedly ran over, called her, and quickly carried her to a more open area. When she woke up, her grandfather was standing next to her, scolding her for not being able to protect his granddaughter. She reassured him and told him to go to rest. He was relieved to see that she was awake. Before returning to the room, she told Xing Cheng to get engaged quickly, so that those with ulterior motives toward the Lanhai Corporation would know who the new owner was. Then everyone left the room, except for Xing Cheng. He reported that everything had been resolved. He reached out his hand and touched her forehead, asking if she still had a headache. He was about to call a doctor for her, but Man Ning grabbed him, saying that they had to get engaged. She knew that she wasn't really Zhuang Xinyan, but she had no one else here to rely on. She took his hand, her voice weak. She said that only he had saved her when she was in trouble. He asked her if she was ready to get engaged to him when she didn't even know who he was. She could easily fall into it and never escape. Man Ning let go of his hand and let him turn around. Xing Cheng went out and stood at the door. They both thought back and reminisced about what they had been through. Xing Cheng turned around just as Man Ning opened the door from inside. He hugged her and pulled her against the wall, causing them to make eye contact. Man Ning said that she didn't know if she was ready or not, but she only had him. He also decided that they would get engaged. Tang Lin saw that the Lanhai Corporation had successfully overcome the trap set by her brother, making her even more infatuated with Yan Xingqing. This made her brother very angry. Liu Mufan started to suspect Man Ning wasn't actually Zhuang Xinyan. He thought about talking to Mei Na, and Yuan Shuai was there and knew that Mei Na was Man Ning's childhood best friend. He and Yuan Shuai decided not to tell Xing Chen because they were worried that Mei Na would get fired. They could only try to keep Mei Na and Man Ning from meeting each other. Man Ning and Xing Chen held a press conference. The first thing they did was to reorganize the company, which surprised some shareholders. Liu Mufan was elected as the director of design, and Zhuang Jiakai was removed from his position as vice president and transferred to logistics. Later, Yan Li and his sister came to the meeting. Yan Li admitted that he had spent a large sum of money to bribe the design director of Lanhai to design products identical to those of Lu Guang, but he said he wouldn't harm anyone, even if it meant losing all his money. After that, he left. Then Man Ning announced her engagement to Xing Chen to the media, which shocked Liu Mufan. On the day of the engagement, Mei Na was supposed to deliver documents, but she was curious and wanted to see the bride, so she snuck out to watch. Man Ning was getting ready in the dressing room, looking stunning and beautiful. Just as Mei Na saw the bride, she got a call urging her to deliver the documents, so she quickly ran off. On the way, Mei Na bumped into Yan Li, causing both of them to drop their phones. Yan Li saw Mei Na's phone screen with a picture of her and Man Ning, which made him suspicious. The engagement ceremony quickly proceeded in a sweet atmosphere. Xing Chen and Man Ning exchanged a romantic kiss. Mei Na arrived after completing her task and witnessed this moment. Finally, she realized that the person on stage was her friend, and she shouted out Man Ning's name. Mei Na was quickly silenced and taken away by Fang Xiang and Yuan Shuai. On the other side, Man Ning was affected by this, and Xing Chen tried to calm her down. After the ceremony, the two went to a separate place to talk. Man Ning was still uneasy about what had happened earlier, and Xing Chen advised her not to worry too much, and that she needed to change clothes. Man Ning reluctantly agreed. After being taken away, Mei Na kept asking Fang Xiang and Yuan Shuai what was going on. The person on stage was clearly her best friend. Fang Xiang denied it, saying that Mei Na was mistaken. Mei Na didn't believe him and wanted to find the bride to get to the bottom of it. Fang Xiang immediately stopped her, and in the process he accidentally kissed Mei Na in front of Yuan Shuai. Mei Na angrily ran off. In the evening, Man Ning was still uneasy about the morning's events. She asked Xing Chen for advice on how to handle this situation, but he didn't care at all. He came closer and reminded her that her job was to maintain her current position, and he would handle everything else. In a bar, Yan Li met with Lu Mufan and expressed her suspicions about the identity of the CEO of Lanhai Corporation, questioning whether the Zhuang family heir was genuine. Lu Mufan said nothing and left. Yan Li stayed behind and called her subordinates to investigate Xing Chen. The next day, Yan Li went to the Lanhai Corporation to meet with Man Ning and Xing Chen to discuss a partnership. She offered a generous price and arranged for Lu Mufan to bring Mei Na to Man Ning's office. As expected, Mei Na discovered Man Ning and ran over to call out her name for confirmation. Man Ning dodged the question, saying Mei Na was mistaken. Xing Chen stepped in to deny Mei Na's claims, and Man Ning affirmed that she was Zhuang Xinyan, demanding Lu Mufan to take his undisciplined subordinate out. Lu Mufan quickly pulled Mei Na away. The partnership agreement continued, and after Man Ning signed it, Yan Li didn't let up. She wanted to see Lanhai's jewelry storage, which could only be opened by the CEO, hoping to further verify Man Ning's identity. Xing Chen, who was in his office, could only ask Feng Xiang to quickly open the lock, but it wasn't easy. At the entrance of the storage, Man Ning had 3 chances, within 90 seconds to enter the correct password, to open the lock and confirm her identity. Otherwise, the lock would automatically lock and alert the police, making it impossible to open. Standing before the lock, Man Ning thought about the password, but she entered it incorrectly twice. Yan Li smugly taunted her. Man Ning suddenly remembered Zhuang Xinyan's phone password and entered it. To her surprise, it matched. The password was the date of her parents' accident. Man Ning breathed a sigh of relief after opening the encrypted program. Xing Chen beside her was also astonished. Next, Man Ning had to scan her cornea. It was Zhuang Xinyan's real cornea, so it was quickly identified, leaving Yan Li speechless. Man Ning returned to her office, and Xing Chen was still waiting for her. She went to hug him from behind, seeking comfort. He turned around, lifted her onto the desk, and then kissed her deeply. Man Ning was initially surprised, but soon lost herself in the sweetness of the kiss. Yan Li was taken home by Lu Mufan. She manipulated Lu Mufan's mind, making him doubt Man Ning. Even he started to connect the illogical events surrounding the woman he secretly admired, Zhuang Xinyan. After returning to the Zhuang family, Man Ning rested her head on Xing Chen's lap and confided in him. She was fortunate to guess the password and had Zhuang Xinyan's cornea. Mentioning Zhuang Xinyan, Man Ning thought that Xing Chen was filled with hatred because Zhuang Xinyan had an accident because of her. He gently comforted her, saying it wasn't her fault, that Zhuang Xinyan had the accident because she resembled Man Ning too much, and the eyes were implanted by him. He told her to try to live a good life. Man Ning was encouraged by Xing Chen's support and vowed to live a good life, fulfill Zhuang Xinyan's wishes, and help Xing Chen achieve what he desired. That night, Xing Chen had another nightmare. The people he loved left him one after another. Man Ning woke up and saw Xing Chen like this, so she ran to calm him down in his dream. Feng Xiang was depressed because of Mei Na's constant teasing, and Yuan Shuai couldn't bear to see this, so he teased him a few times. Xing Chen appeared and gave Yuan Shuai a task, telling him to fly to Italy and bring back the doctor who performed surgery on Man Ning after her accident because Yan Li had gotten wind of it. Yuan Shuai immediately carried out the task. Mei Na's mother and Man Ning's father were handing out water in the lobby when they saw Mei Na. The mother happily called her over, and Mei Na asked why her mother was there. Her mother explained that the company's union had ordered some water for the employees. Mei Na retorted that there was no union at the company, and Feng Xiang, seemingly out of nowhere, also came over to get water. At this moment, Man Ning came down to meet her grandfather. Mei Na's mother recognized Man Ning and asked Mei Na about her. Mei Na replied that she was not Man Ning, but the company's CEO Zhuang Xinyan. Feng Xiang, standing aside, approached Man Ning to greet her, but actually wanted to calm her down. As Man Ning continued walking, she bumped into her father. Man Ning was scared and trembled, dropping her handbag. Feng Xiang helped her pick it up. She tried to say that he was mistaken, but stopped when Man Ning's father called out, "Daughter." Fang Xiang pulled her away, but Man Ning's father's dog, upon recognizing its owner, ran excitedly towards her. Fang Xiang wanted to protect Man Ning, but was bitten on his butt. The situation became chaotic. Man Ning still wanted to leave, but was stopped by her father. Suddenly, the chairman appeared and said that Man Ning was his granddaughter. Yan Li, who was behind the scenes, observed everything. It wasn't going according to her plan, making her angry. Man Ning's grandfather stood in the middle and cleared up the misunderstanding. It was just a case of people looking alike, he said. He suggested that the two families should visit each other sometime. After returning home, Man Ning's father was still thinking about what had happened. Mei Na's mother advised him to call his daughter for peace of mind. He called Man Ning, asking about her health and giving her many instructions. Man Ning felt his concern and cried. Xing Chen took Lu Mufan to their work base. They sat down, and Li Mufan shared his thoughts. On November 21, 2004, Zhuang Kai-xuan's car and Mr. Yan's car had an accident on their way to visit a branch office overseas. Mr. Yan died on the spot, and his whereabouts remained unknown. Zhuang Kai-xuan and her son, Yan Yi and Shen Yan, cried hysterically upon learning about the accident, but the chairman immediately ordered Zhuang Kai-xuan to go abroad alone. They didn't know where she went after that. Later, she returned with a fiancé no one had ever met and took over as the CEO of Lanhai Corporation. But the problem was that she wasn't a Zhuang. Lu Mufan felt indignant. Man Ning, a simple girl, was taking on such a huge responsibility for Zhuang Xinyan, which was unfair. He also guessed that Xing Chen's real identity was Yan Yi. Xing Chen always wore a ring on his finger because he wanted to hide the scar on his finger. The scar was from a childhood accident when they were playing in a glass house. Liu Mufan accidentally injured Yan Yi's finger. After saying all this, Lu Mufan wanted to leave immediately, but was stopped by Xing Chen. Lu Mufan advised him that even if something had really happened to Zhuang Xinyan, he should tell the Zhuang family instead of finding Shen Man Ning to replace her. Xing Chen also told Lu Mufan that Zhuang Xinyan had died, causing Lu Mufan to be stunned for a moment. Xing Chen explained that he couldn't tell the Zhuang family because he wanted to find out who was behind everything. Otherwise, more people would be harmed. When Lu Mufan tried to meet his father and the chairman, he was knocked unconscious by Xing Chen. Mei Na took Fang Xiang to the hospital. He took the opportunity to sincerely apologize to Mei Na, hoping to remain friends with her. But Mei Na refused, saying she didn't want to be friends with him or Yuan Shuai anymore. She declared that the person she liked was Yuan Shuai, and then she left. The next day, Yan Li suddenly visited the Zhuang family. During dinner, she brought out sticky rice with mango. Man Ning had a mango allergy as a child, and she once almost died from it. Yan Li knew about this because she had ordered people to investigate Man Ning's family. At this time, both Yan Li and Xing Chen received calls. Yuan Shuai, following Sheng Chen's instructions, went to Italy to find the doctor. He found someone breaking into the clinic and attacking the doctor, so Yuan Shuai quickly went to the file room to investigate. Two people were fighting over the medical records of Man Ning and Xin Yan. They were fighting over the medical records, and Yuan Shuai was accidentally injured. Back at the dinner table, Man Ning tried to finish her meal and then went upstairs. However, she felt dizzy when she reached the stairs. Xing Chen noticed that Man Ning was unwell, so he followed her. Man Ning broke out in a red rash and was itchy all over. Xing Chen quickly carried her to her room, forced her to vomit what she had eaten, and then put her in the bathtub and turned on the water. He used his body to block the water from splashing. The allergy subsided, and Xing Chen gently carried Man Ning to bed to rest. She felt safe and vulnerable in his arms. Meanwhile, Yuan Shuai was alone and had to bandage his wound. The next day, Man Ning woke up and admired the handsome man lying next to her, causing Xing Chen to wake up. The first thing he did was check on Man Ning's health, asking if her fever had subsided and if the rash was still there. He turned to the bedside table to get her water, but Man Ning kissed him, leaving Xing Chen stunned. She explained that the kiss was to thank him. Xing Chen leaned in and kissed Man Ning passionately. After the kiss, He asked why she was allergic to mango, but had eaten the sticky rice with mango that Yanli had brought. She didn't hesitate to say it was for him and Xin Yan, because she had promised Xin Yan that she would take back Lan Hai for her, and because of Xing Chen's wish. Although she didn't know his true purpose for bringing her back here, she knew that he was waiting for the right opportunity. She believed that when the time was right, he would tell her everything. Until then, she would do her best to be Zhuang Xinyan. She wouldn't let her identity be revealed, and she wouldn't give up even if she faced difficulties. Man Ning had guessed that Yan Li knew her identity and was trying to find evidence to prove that she wasn't Zhuang Xinyan. She hoped that if Yan Li found the evidence, Xing Chen would push her away and take on all the consequences himself. Xing Chen, of course, didn't want to hear this from Man Ning, but she tried to convince him because that way, he could avoid punishment, and everything that had happened before wouldn't be in vain. He made a date with her to go to the beach and fly a kite on Thursday afternoon. He said he would tell her all his secrets then. Yan Li sat drinking alone and was scolded by her brother. She wanted Xing Chen to be hers. Naturally, Yan Li's thoughts were criticized by Yan Qi. Although Yan Qi didn't respect the Zhuang family in business, he wasn't in the habit of stealing from other families. Yan Li suddenly said that Xing Chen wasn't the Zhuang family's son-in-law, and that the Zhuang family didn't have a granddaughter. However, Yan Li wouldn't listen. She was determined to get Xing Chen, no matter what the cost. She told her brother that when the truth came out, she would also take over Lanhai Corporation for him. Before leaving, Yan Qi reminded his sister to know her limits. Later, Xing Chen called Yan Li and asked to meet. She naturally agreed. Xing Chen's plan was pushed ahead of schedule. Fang Seng was standing next to Liu Mufan, keeping an eye on him. At the meeting point, Yan Li didn't hesitate to confess her feelings for him, but he showed no interest. She was still smug, however, because she had planned to bring Man Ning and her family close to where they were sitting. Man Ning's father was walking with Mai Na and her mother when he received a call saying that Man Ning had been in an accident at the airport. The caller hung up immediately. He and Mai Na's mother were incredibly worried and hurriedly took a taxi to the airport, also calling Man Ning to confirm. Not far away, Man Ning was happily walking down the street when she received her father's call. Before she could speak, she saw her father in the car. The driver was the person who had kidnapped her months before. She couldn't believe it and rushed out to block the car. Xing Chen, disregarding everything, ran towards Man Ning and pushed her away. Yan Li was slapped in the face by her brother. Meanwhile, the media was reporting that the vice president, Xing Chen, whose real name was Yan Yi, was the long-lost grandson of Zhuang Cheng'an, the chairman of Lanhai Corporation. From that day forward, Yan Yi reclaimed his real name and took over as CEO of Lanhai Corporation. Man Ning fainted from the impact of the collision. Xing Chen kept calling her name, trying to wake her up. In her dream, Man Ning was playing happily on the beach with Xing Chen. They held hands as they walked on the sand, hugging each other as they faced the sea breeze. In reality, Man Ning was lying in the hospital. At the Zhuang family, Jia Kai angrily ran over and grabbed Xing Chen by the collar, accusing him of being a fraud. Only his mother could calm him down enough to make him sit down. Standing before the Zhuang family, Xing Chen started recounting the events of 17 years ago. Before Yan Yi and his parents flew overseas, Shen Yan gave him a paper airplane with a message asking him and his parents to return safely. In the car, Yan Yi's parents and he chatted and laughed together, unaware of the car speeding directly toward theirs. When Yan Yi screamed, it was too late. The accident happened. Yan Yi was lucky to survive, but when he saw that his parents had lost consciousness, he could only call for them in despair. At that moment, a man in black ran up and carried Yan Yi away. Despite his struggles, the man threw him into the water, trying to drown him. He flailed his arms and legs but slowly sank. Jia Kai didn't believe Xing Chen's story. He removed the ring from his finger, revealing a childhood scar. Guang Yi, standing to the side, nodded to confirm its authenticity. The grandfather eagerly asked for news of Xin Yan. Xing Chen, suppressing his grief, said that she was gone. He had previously gone to an art university overseas to find her, intending to return with her. But then an incident happened. She rushed to save someone and was involved in a serious car accident. When he arrived, Xin Yan was gone. The chairman and butler Lin cried, but Kai Xuan and her son remained cold and expressionless. Kai Xuan started to blame Man Ning, but Xing Chen said it was all his doing. Everything, the plan, was all his fault. He had threatened Man Ning and brought her home with him. He would take full responsibility. The chairman was heartbroken and stopped the argument, establishing a new rule for the Zhuang family. Xin Yan's name would not be mentioned in Lanhai. He then dismissed everyone to be alone. He couldn't contain his grief and wept uncontrollably for his granddaughter. In the hospital, Man Ning woke up. Lu Mufan was by her side. He told her that everything was over and revealed Xing Chen's true identity. At first, Man Ning didn't believe it, but when she saw the news online, she couldn't accept it and wanted to see Xing Chen. She ran outside but was stopped by Feng Sheng and Yuan Shuai. Man Ning could only burst into tears. She slumped to the floor and wept uncontrollably, making it impossible for anyone to watch. Man Ning's father arrived at that moment. Man Ning was lost in her memories with Xing Chen. She didn't want to eat, and Mei Na came to deliver food, only to see her friend begging for help to see Xing Chen again. She agreed to help. That night, Mei Na kept Yuan Shuai and Feng Xiang outside. Man Ning climbed out the window and went to find Xing Chen. Man Ning stood by the roadside. As Xing Chen's motorcade passed, he got out of the car and ran towards her. "Actually, you weren't necessary," she said to him. "With your abilities, you could have reclaimed the Zhuang family's assets. We're not from the same world, and you and I have nothing in common. What Xin Yan did for me, I tried my best to repay. Now, we're even." Xing Chen wore a cold expression, making Man Ning feel even more heartbroken. The sky rumbled, and it began to rain. Man Ning handed back the engagement ring. Xing Chen reached out to take it. Man Ning bit his hand, then turned and walked away. It wasn't until she left that he showed his own pain. Man Ning returned to the hospital. Mei Na ran up to her, asking her what was wrong, but Man Ning just looked at her blankly and fainted. When she woke up back home, Man Ning convinced herself that everything she had experienced was just a long, confusing dream and that this was the life she should have had. At the dinner table, Mei Na and her mother were delighted to have a family meal. Before eating, Man Ning's father asked her to apologize to Mei Na and her mother for her actions and words in the past. Man Ning listened to her father and apologized, receiving forgiveness from everyone. Yan Yi went to Lanhai to offer guarantees to the shareholders, trying to restore their faith in the company. The company's stock price was plummeting, and because of the change in high-level inheritance, Yan Yi had to take responsibility for finding a solution. He released news that would stimulate stock prices and stabilize the shareholders. The shareholders suggested that Lanhai Corporation and Lu Guang should become in-laws. Although Lu Guang Group was always in competition with Lanhai, they secretly desired cooperation. The two companies were both famous for high-end jewelry. If they intermarried, it would be beneficial news for the jewelry market, and the stock price of both companies would rise. To everyone's surprise, Yan Yi agreed. Feng Xiang and Yuan Shuai were incredibly shocked. Lu Mufan met Man Ning and offered her a chance to start over, giving her a job in his private office. She agreed. Meanwhile, Yan Li was lost in her love for Yan Yi. Upon hearing the news that Lanhai and Lu Guang were going to combine, she was delighted. She would marry the man she loved. She happily planned to get an outfit and jewelry for her engagement day. Yuan Shuai was sitting alone on a bench, bandaging his own wound, when Mei Na came over to help. But after the wound was bandaged, he said without hesitation that they didn't need to see each other anymore. Mei Na thought she had done something wrong, but he said it was unnecessary. She confessed her feelings for him in response to his coldness. Feng Sheng, standing in the distance, witnessed the scene. Man Ning was helping Mei Na's mother carry things at the convenience store when she saw a news report. Xing Chen and Yan Li were going to marry. Man Ning reacted a little strangely. Mei Na's mother saw this and gave her a sandwich, telling her to go home and rest. Man Ning went outside and sat down, the bright sunlight making her realize how distant she and Xing Chen had become. Man Ning returned home and found the door unlocked. Assuming her father was home, she searched everywhere and noticed her room had been ransacked. Just then, a man in black snuck out of the house. Man Ning gave chase. Not forgetting to text Mayna, she told her about the intruder and that she was following him. She instructed Mayna to call for help if they didn't connect within 15 minutes. The man lured her into a cargo truck and locked her inside. When Mayna received the message, she anxiously went to the CEO's office to find Fang Xiang. However, she only found Xing Chen, and she told him about Man Ning's danger. Man Ning was unable to call anyone because she had no signal, but she received a call from Xing Chen. And don't ask why the female lead can receive the male lead, because the director said it's okay if it works. Man Ning happily answered. Xing Chen was on his way, rushing to find her. She cried, telling him she was in a dark cargo truck and was terrified. Xing Chen calmed her down, telling her to stay calm and share her location. He would come to save her. Then, the call was cut off. The cargo truck was driving on a bridge. The driver was distracted by his phone and drove into oncoming traffic. A chain reaction of crashes ensued, with the cargo truck being continuously hit. Man Ning was thrown from the truck and fell off the bridge. She managed to cling to the railing and wait for Xing Chen. When Xing Chen arrived, he heard Man Ning's cries and rushed to her. But as he reached her, she couldn't hold on and fell. With suppressed fear, Xing Chen jumped into the water to save her. Underneath the bridge, Xing Chen carried Man Ning to the shore. He was starting to lose strength, but when someone came to help, he staggered towards Feng Xiang and Yuan Shuai. In the hospital, he woke up. Yan Li was by his side, tending to him. He pushed her aside and told her to leave. Yan Li asked why he jumped into the water, even though he had a fear of the ocean. Xing Chen said he had to save Man Ning because she was more important to him than his own life. Man Ning had also woken up. Lu Mufan was taking care of her. The first thing she asked was who saved her. Lu Mufan concealed the truth, saying she had been rescued, given first aid, and saved by the police. She was a little suspicious, but didn't say anything. Xing Chen and Man Ning were in the same hospital, but they kept crossing paths. That night, Man Ning borrowed a phone from a nurse and called Xing Chen. He answered, but his voice was cold as he replied to her questions. She asked about the engagement between Lan Hai and Lu Guang, and he coldly said she could think like what she wanted, leaving her heart broken. On the day of Xing Chen and Yan Li's engagement, Man Ning received her clothes from the day of the accident, and she discovered Xing Chen's ring. Xing Chen stepped onto the stage. Then Yan Li, in a dazzling wedding dress, also came onto the stage. She asked Xing Chen if he truly wanted to marry her, if it weren't for the benefit of their families and companies. Xing Chen didn't answer. He looked down at the audience, their eyes focused on them. He handed the bouquet to Yan Li. The officiant began to speak. If anyone objects to their love. At that moment, Man Ning's voice rang out. I object. Man Ning walked onto the stage and kissed Xing Chen directly. Everyone around them was stunned. She confessed her love for him and took out his ring, asking if he was willing to follow her. Yan Li stood aside and called out, Yan Yi. He turned to look at his grandfather, seeing him hesitate. Man Ning put the ring on his finger and said he was hers. One day, she would come back and take him away. She turned and left. Xing Chen chased after her and scooped her up in his arms. Man Ning, overjoyed, kissed him again. They escaped the engagement ceremony. When they reached a place where they were alone, the two of them were affectionate and loving as if they had never been apart. Xing Chen also revealed his true purpose to Man Ning. She encouraged and supported him, saying she would always be by his side, no matter what. Under the light of fireworks, they kissed, expressing their love and looking forward to a happy future together. Fang Xiang and Mei Na watched from afar, happy for Man Ning and Xing Chen. But it seemed like only Mei Na was truly happy. Fang Xiang tried to scheme and help Mei Na pursue Yuan Shuai, but he failed over and over. Meanwhile, Yan Li was still pining for Xing Chen. After the engagement ceremony, many people mocked her, and when her brother said a few words, she ran away from home in despair. Liu Mufan went to the Tang family home and saw her leaving alone, so he followed her. Yan Li couldn't understand what was wrong with liking someone. She didn't care what others thought of her, didn't care what her brother said, and didn't even care if Xing Chen liked her. Liu Mufan stayed beside her and comforted her, sharing his thoughts to help her see the situation more clearly. The mysterious person was still targeting Xing Chen, wanting to deal with him, but he hadn't found the opportunity yet. He was waiting for a chance to strike. When it was time to leave work, Xing Chen noticed someone following him. He remained calm and natural as he walked to his car, and the person following him did the same. Suddenly, Xing Chen grabbed the person by the neck. He recognized Man Ning. She had come to pick him up from work, but she had disguised herself because she didn't want the people at the company to see her. He had been too rough with her. Man Ning playfully asked Xing Chen if he wanted to run away with her. Before he could answer, she took his car keys and drove him to a large bridge to watch the stars. Man Ning wanted him to relax, so she unbuttoned his shirt and loosened his tie and prepared clothes for him to change. Xing Chen changed clothes in front of Man Ning. She shyly covered her face. Oh, and ladies, enjoy the view of the male lead's body, but it's only for a few seconds. So look carefully. When he finished changing, he pulled her close to the car and said that he would be hers forever. Then, he gently kissed her on the lips. Xing Chen drove Man Ning home. She was still half asleep when she woke up. He asked her with concern how she was doing. Man Ning honestly said that she was helping Mei Na's mother with the convenience store and designing for Liu Mufan's design studio. When she mentioned Liu Mufan, Xing Chen was immediately jealous and said she could work at Lan Hai. He'd tell his staff to call her in tomorrow. Man Ning laughed and said he was a jealous god. They were about to kiss goodbye, but the seatbelt got caught, so they had to reluctantly say goodbye. When she got home, she saw her father waiting for her. Man Ning shyly walked over to him. Her father asked if she was dating someone. At first, she denied it, but when he said he allowed her to date but asked that he meet her boyfriend, she agreed to make him less worried. Xing Chen began to speed up the investigation of his parents and Xin Yan's 2 accidents. Jia Kai led people to find Xing Chen, telling him that he didn't agree to him owning Lan Hai, so he asked for an investigation of the company's shares. The person who held the most shares would be the true owner of Lan Hai. Xing Chen didn't care about Jia Kai at all. He told Jia Kai's people to leave. He was alone with Xing Chen in the room. Xing Chen pushed Jia Kai down onto the table, grabbed a pen, and pointed it at him, threatening him not to touch his people or talk nonsense at Lan Hai. Otherwise, he would make him wish he was dead. Just then, Man Ning called. Jia Kai actually answered, and Xing Chen listened as she said she couldn't go on their dinner date tonight because she was busy and would contact him when she finished. Jia Kai, knowing Xing Chen's weakness was Man Ning, became smug and arrogant. He even taunted Xing Chen before leaving. Xing Chen went to his parents' old room, which had been ransacked. He was sure there was something still left. Xing Chen recalled what his grandfather had said. After his mother took over Lan Hai from his grandfather, she transferred nearly 40% of the shares to her name. This number of shares could determine ownership of Lan Hai, but her whereabouts were currently unknown. Before she was declared dead by the police overseas, she had a personal seal that could be used to control these shares. Before she went abroad, she had told his grandfather that she had left the seal with Shen Yan. Knowing that the intruder's goal was to take Mrs. Kai Xuan's personal seal, Xing Chen asked Fang Xiang to investigate the entry and exit records of the art university 10 days before and after Xin Yan's accident. They had to screen anyone connected to the Zhuang family, leaving no stone unturned. Yuan Shuai was following Jia Kai, but Jia Kai discovered him. Xing Chen told Yuan Shuai to go back and went to find Man Ning himself. Man Ning was working when she saw her lover and excitedly waved to him secretly. Xing Chen saw her sitting near Liu Mufan, and his jealousy flared. He didn't bother to respond to Man Ning and sat there observing. She kept glancing at him. Because she had to entertain a client, she was forced to drink alcohol, and she continuously drank in front of Xing Chen. By the time she left, Man Ning was flushed from drinking. She picked up her phone and called Xing Chen, but he hung up. She thought he had lost interest in her, unaware that he was following behind her. Xing Chen couldn't help but smile, thinking that Man Ning was adorable when she was drunk. Then, a group of masked men approached her. It was his time to shine. Xing Chen took care of the men with his tie, not forgetting to be gentle with his drunken girlfriend. He gave her the task of finding a car to get her away from the fight scene. Fighting was easy for him, like eating porridge. While he was directing Man Ning, He decisively took down each man, looking cool as he did. After he sent the men running, Man Ning also came up with a way to find a car. When she found one, she demanded a reward from Xing Chen, which led to another romantic interaction. It turned out that the men who kidnapped Xin Yan knew about Mrs. Kai Xuan's personal seal, but they had kidnapped Man Ning by mistake. This meant that Man Ning had saved both Lan Hai and the Zhuang family. The personal seal was most likely with Man Ning, but Xing Chen didn't want her to know. She had been caught in this mess for half a year, and he had worked hard to get her out of it safely. He didn't want her to be in danger again. In the future, he would keep a close eye on Man Ning and find a chance to ask her what had happened the last time she saw Xin Yan. Meanwhile, Fang Sheng continued to sift through the data, while Yuan Shuai followed Dai Yang, Jia Kai's subordinate. He was waiting to find the seal, or figure out another solution before returning. Man Ning was sleeping when she was awakened by Xing Chen's call, which brought back memories of the previous night. She continuously kissed him and acted cute, causing her to blush. On the other end of the line, Xing Chen urged her to come downstairs for their date. Afterward, they went to the beach, where they played, embraced each other against the wind, and shared their thoughts. Lu Mufan was working at the bar when he met Yan Li. She offered him a position at her design studio, and he accepted. While Yuan Shuai was following Dai Yang, he was discovered, but Yuan Shuai didn't notice. He continued to shadow him. Just when he was about to be caught, Mei Na appeared and put a hat on him. Acting instinctively, Yuan Shuai was about to defend himself, but following the director's instructions, he hugged Mei Na and pressed her against the wall. Their eyes locked. However, they didn't want to reveal Yuan Shuai's identity, so they led Dai Yang astray. When he left, Yuan Shuai also left. Mei Na hoped to receive a thank you, but he responded with indifference. The heartbroken Mei Na called Man Ning for comfort. Then, a person appeared behind her. Xing Chen went to another place and called Fang Xiang. Fang Xiang reported that before Xin Yan's accident, there had been entry information for Dai Yang, and many suspicious entries related to Xin Yan and Man Ning. Xing Chen instructed Yuan Shuai to follow Dai Yang and keep an eye on Jia Kai. Things were becoming increasingly complex. Xing Chen turned around and couldn't find Man Ning. He was very worried, but she soon returned. Jing Chen rushed to her and hugged her tightly, telling her to promise him she wouldn't run around anymore. When they were getting into the car, Man Ning told Xing Chen that Butler Lin had come to find her and said her grandfather wanted to see her. She had gone to meet him, but was too afraid to look at him. She thought he was still mad at her, but actually, he had forgiven her and saw her as his granddaughter. He even supported her relationship with Xing Chen. Xing Chen drove Man Ning home. She also told him that she would introduce him to her father. Xing Chen said he'd arrange it for the weekend. Before he could tell her anything else, he saw a suspicious thief coming out of her house. When Man Ning said it was the same thief who had broken into her house before, Xing Chen chased after him. Yan Li happened to be passing by, and Man Ning asked her to help chase after Xing Chen. Yan Li didn't hesitate and gave her a ride. Xing Chen chased after the thief. The thief threw a red box into the car and locked it before running away. Xing Chen wanted to get the box, so he smashed the window and got in. The thief had a different car ready. When he saw Xing Chen was inside, he pressed a button to lower the car. Man Ning and Yan Li arrived and witnessed the scene. Man Ning quickly ran to find Xing Chen. Suddenly, Xing Chen appeared on top of another container, holding the red box. Man Ning ran to him and scolded him for putting himself in danger, making her worried. Xing Chen hugged her, comforting his crying girlfriend who was worried about him. Yan Li stood aside, smiling at them. When they arrived at the hotel, Xing Chen showered. Man Ning was still worried and kept asking him about his health, reminding him that he needed to take her with him when facing danger. Xing Chen comforted her with a kiss. Then he told Man Ning everything. She told him that she remembered that when Xin Yan was still conscious, she had only given her the rose brooch. If so, the brooch could help him reclaim Lan Hai Corporation. So tomorrow morning, she would put it away, and he could come get it himself. At home, Man Ning's father picked up a brooch, and his expression became a little strange. Meanwhile, Mei Na was crying heartbreakingly. Fang Xiang was beside her, not knowing what to do to stop her from crying. He ended up telling her the story of how Yuan Shuai had helped him in the past. Fang Xiang had been bullied by some thugs, and when Yuan Shuai walked by, they ran away. Fang Xiang thought Yuan Shuai had helped him, but then Yuan Shuai started bullying him, even trying to hit him. Xing Chen stepped in, fighting with Yuan Shuai. They had somehow become friends and comrades. Xing Chen, Fang Xiang, and Yuan Shuai investigated the vehicle used by the intruders at Man Ning's house. They found that the vehicle that had caused the accident belonged to a transport company with a 20-year history. The company was well known in the industry, and they had even gone abroad with a construction team to provide transportation services in the local area. Xing Chen was suspicious, but Fang Xiang gave him a seemingly ordinary but very strange clue. There was a sum of money that wasn't very large, but the sender and receiver were both ordinary people. They had no connection with the Zhuang family or Lanhai Corporation. The receiver of the money was a middle-aged woman named Jiang Min. Since opening the account overseas, there had only been one deposit, and no movement in funds. The woman had died 17 years ago, but once, a middle-aged man logged into the account without touching the money. From then on, the account and the money inside were unclaimed. Fang Xiang then showed a photo of half the man's face. Man Ning was diligently searching for the brooch. Her father came to help, but when he realized what she was looking for, his expression became a little strange. Man Ning told him to rest before she found it. She went to the door of her room and thought for a while. Her father then handed the brooch to her. She happily accepted it. She quickly called Xing Chen to tell him, and reminded him to go to sleep early, so that he could come meet her father tomorrow. Man Ning was looking forward to their meeting tomorrow. The next day, as planned, Xing Chen went to Man Ning's house. She happily ran up to him and hugged him. Then came the intimate scene. If you want to see it, go watch episode 19 because I'm so sick of it. Man Ning's father was at home, looking at old photos of Man Ning. He received a message from the mysterious person, saying that he had to hand over the brooch, or the events of 17 years ago would be revealed. Just as Man Ning was bringing Xing Chen home to meet her father, Xing Chen recognized the man in the photo from the previous night as the man in front of him. The three of them sat down. Xing Chen introduced himself as Yan Yi. Man Ning's father's expression changed, and his hand unconsciously reached for his pants. He made an excuse for Man Ning to leave so he could talk to Xing Chen. After Man Ning left, Xing Chen continued to talk about his family background and identity, mentioning that his parents had been in an accident 17 years ago. His father had died and his mother was missing. His younger sister had died after meeting Man Ning. Man Ning's father tried to keep his composure, but Xing Chen continued to pressure him with questions. Xing Chen was certain that Man Ning's father was the one who had caused the accident that killed his parents. Man Ning appeared at that moment, curiously asking what they were talking about. Xing Chen wiped away the tears welling up in his eyes and smiled, saying they were talking about her birth, wanting to understand her better. Man Ning didn't hesitate to recount her story. Her mother had died when she was very young, and her father had raised her by himself through his transportation business. When she was younger, her mother had been very ill, and her father had even gone abroad for a while to earn money for her treatment. Xing Chen's conviction grew. He asked Man Ning to make dinner, leaving the two men alone. Man Ning's father said he had gone abroad to help with the construction site. He took a drink of water to calm down, but Xing Chen's question terrified him. He asked if Man Ning's mother, who had died 17 years ago, was named Jiang Min. Desperate, Xing Chen stood up. Man Ning's father tried to hold on to his daughter's happiness, advising him that he couldn't make her bear the burden of her parents' mistakes. These words were like a confession of the accident. He tried to explain that someone had instructed him to feign a collision with Xing Chen's parents' car. At the time, he had been desperate for money to treat his wife, and had been determined to turn his life around. He ran over and took Xing Chen's hand, begging him not to harm Man Ning. Xing Chen was enraged, and swung his arm, causing him to fall backward. Man Ning entered the room, not knowing what was going on. She went to help her father up, and then ran after Xing Chen. Before he left, he took the brooch. Man Ning went to Xing Chen and asked what had happened between him and her father. He had to tell her, so they could solve it together. Suddenly, Xing Chen said, "Break up." Man Ning couldn't believe what she had heard. She thought he was testing her to see who she would choose between her father and him. She wouldn't hesitate to choose him, but Xing Chen stepped back as she approached. Man Ning needed a legitimate reason for them to break up. Xing Chen said he had only used her to get the brooch back. He had never told her that he loved her. A man who truly loved a woman would never be ambiguous with her and would not reject her confession. Man Ning was heartbroken and began to cry. Xing Chen coldly said, "I've never loved you." Man Ning stubbornly went to kiss him, but he was indifferent to her. Man Ning, heartbroken, said she would never forgive him for the rest of her life. When she ran off, Xing Chen finally removed his mask of sorrow, turned to face the sea, and cried. In the greenhouse, her grandfather saw Kai Xuan and called to her, asking her to come talk. Mrs. Kai Xuan didn't even look at him, but he called to her sternly. Liu Mufan learned that Man Ning's father had caused the accident that killed Xing Chen's parents and was worried about Man Ning. After delivering the draft to Yan Li, he wanted to go find her. Yan Li took him to Man Ning's house. Man Ning couldn't get over her heartache, and she was drowning in tears in her room. Her father was extremely worried outside. Xing Chen received news from Feng Sheng that Jia Kai and Dai Yang had brought many people back to Lanhai Corporation. The company's system suddenly announced a shareholder meeting to determine ownership. Most of the shareholders confirmed their participation. He had the audacity to hold the meeting earlier than expected, so he definitely had more than one trick up his sleeve. Xing Chen was sure they were prepared, so he needed Feng Shang and Yuan Shuai to have all the documents ready. They shouldn't rush. He also asked Feng Shang to call Mei Na and see how Man Ning was doing. The chairman confronted Kai Xuan, asking if the inability of the flowers in the greenhouse to grow was her masterpiece. Kai Xuan readily admitted that she had poisoned the soil, so not even a single blade of grass could grow. He angrily went to hit her. The memory of his childhood, when he would slap her across the face whenever she did something wrong and make her kneel in the greenhouse, rain or shine, flashed through his mind. He still didn't understand why she had destroyed the greenhouse and the Zhuang family. Who had wronged her to make her do this? Mrs. Kai Xuan said with hatred in her eyes. None of you in the Zhuang family are innocent. In the meeting, Jia Kai arrogantly sat in the CEO's chair. Xing Chen went over and told him to get out. Jia Kai disregarded him and put his feet on the table, saying that whoever held the most shares in the company would be the ultimate owner of Lanhai Corporation and have the right to sit in that chair. Xing Chen calmly took out the brooch, the personal seal of the eldest lady of the Zhuang family. The shareholders still doubted whether the brooch could determine the large number of shares held by the eldest Zhuang lady. Jia Kai continued to argue, throwing the brooch aside and presenting the police confirmation that Zhuang Mei Xuan was indeed deceased. At the Zhuang family, the argument between the chairman and Mrs. Kai Xuan had reached a fever pitch. The chairman wanted to persuade her, but her jealousy and resentment from childhood made her constantly hate the Zhuang family. She criticized the chairman, step by step, causing him to have a heart attack and fall. However, he didn't have time to explain to her why he wouldn't let her into Lanhai. Taekwon looked on helplessly as his father struggled for breath. Man Ning, after leaving her father's room, hurried to get in the car with him, and they left. Before Mei Na could understand what was going on, Liu Mufan arrived, ran upstairs to find Man Ning, and learned that she had already left. In the meeting, Jia Kai continued to insult Xing Chen. Unable to bear it anymore, Xing Chen grabbed Jia Kai by the neck and pressed him down onto the table. He was still provoking Xing Chen when news of the chairman's illness reached his ears. He returned to find that the doctor and nurses had stopped trying to resuscitate his grandfather. He begged the doctor to save him, losing his composure and doing everything he could to save him. Mrs. Kai Xuan and her son watched indifferently. Then Mrs. Kai Xuan coldly said, "Old people all die eventually." She also said that Xing Chen was the illegitimate son of his father, Yan Li, and another woman, and that he was not a Zhuang. He had no right to be in the Zhuang family or Lanhai Corporation. Liu Mufan caught up to Man Ning and her father's taxi. He told Man Ning he had something important to tell her. Man Ning was heartbroken and could only stand there, crying. Liu Mufan comforted her. She couldn't leave now that things had happened at the Zhuang family in Lanhai. Mrs. Kai Xuan presented evidence proving that Xing Chen was not qualified to inherit the Zhuang family and Lan Hai. Jing Chen still had his doubts when suddenly his grandfather woke up. He didn't have time to say anything before he breathed his last. Meanwhile, Yuan Shuai pulled Mei Na into the escalator. She asked him what was going on, worrying about Man Ning, but he didn't say anything. Suddenly, he apologized to her for hurting her before. He knew she liked him, but she wasn't part of his plan. He had come back to help Xing Chen fulfill his wish, so everything else was secondary to him. Mei Na's heart sank again when her feelings were not reciprocated. She said that from now on, she wouldn't like him anymore. Unable to hold back her tears, she turned away and cried. Yuan Shuai reminded her that someone was still watching her. Feng Shang appeared and saw her crying. Worried, he asked if she was hurt. Mei Na realized that Yuan Shuai was talking about the person following her. Yan Qi came to pick up his sister, telling everyone that the chairman of the Zhuang family had died and that Yan Yi was expelled from the Zhuang family and Lan Hai, without explanation. Man Ning was surprised and couldn't believe it. After so many setbacks, Xing Chen's spirit was about to break. He went to the beach, recalling the painful memories of his past and his moments with Man Ning. Man Ning kept calling him. Meanwhile, Lu Mu Fan and Yan Lai went to tell her that they had sent people to find him, but there was still no news. Man Ning wanted to find him herself. She insisted that only she could find him. Man Ning went to every place they had been together, but she couldn't find him. The next day, Xing Chen walked out to the beach, towards the dangerous area. Man Ning had followed him and was searching for him when she saw his ring on the ground. She was even more sure he was there. Man Ning witnessed Xing Chen jump into the sea. She ran towards him and swam into the water to save him. He was unconscious underwater. She swam over, grabbed his hand, and gave him artificial respiration before pulling him to shore. She kept calling his name and shaking him awake. People quickly rushed over and took Xing Chen to the hospital. Man Ning stood outside, crying uncontrollably. He was successfully resuscitated, but he was still in a coma. Whether he would wake up depended on his will. Man Ning stayed by his side, taking care of him. Man Ning fell asleep on the sofa while drawing. In her dream, Xing Chen witnessed his family members leave him one by one. The little boy in the dream was kidnapped by a man in black. Xing Chen, in reality, began to have seizures. Suddenly, he opened his eyes, panicked. Man Ning quickly woke up and called for the doctor. The doctor and nurses came in to restrain him, but when he saw the picture Man Ning had drawn, he calmed down. When he regained consciousness, Xing Chen went over and picked up the picture. He looked at it, then knelt down. Tears fell from his eyes onto the drawing. Man Ning reached out to him, and he slowly reached out and took her hand. Man Ning comforted him, giving him a sense of safety, and the little boy inside him finally found his way out. Fang Sheng went to see Mei Na and saw that she was drawing comics using him and Yuan Shuai as the protagonists. He was unhappy with the way she drew them, so he asked her to change it. While Mei Na was fixing the drawing, Fang Xiang bought a hamburger and cut it for her. Mei Na felt warm and remembered the time he had protected her. She finally began to see him in a different light. Xing Chen was discharged from the hospital. Man Ning was still by his side, taking care of him, but he still hadn't truly escaped the pain of the past. To help Xing Chen open his heart, Man Ning invited everyone to dinner. The atmosphere at the meal was quite cheerful. They also remembered to give the audience a romantic scene. After dinner, Fang Xiang mustered his courage and confessed his feelings for Mei Na. Mei Na shyly nodded. The silly Fang Xiang didn't understand. Mei Na had to hit him before he realized. They kissed, confirming their relationship. Lan Hai changed hands again. Xing Chen stood alone, lost in thought. Man Ning ran to him from behind and hugged him, asking him what he was thinking about. Jing Chen said he was thinking about everything: his parents' and sisters' deaths, Lan Hai falling into the wrong hands, his grandfather's passing. He thought all his efforts over the years to find what he wanted were wasted because everything he wanted to protect was gone. He blamed himself. Man Ning comforted him, saying that he still had Fang Xiang, Yuan Shuai, Lu Mufan, Yan Li and her. She encouraged him, saying that he couldn't just give up to give the Zhuang family to someone else. He still had to find the truth and the culprit behind it all. She encouraged him to return to the Zhuang family and to Lanhai Corporation. She would be by his side. Xing Chen kissed Man Ning and told her he loved her. Man Ning was moved to tears of happiness. They embraced each other. What they did after that, everyone knows. I'll skip over that part. Yan Lai asked Liu Mufan to meet an important person, and that person was Zhuang Maishuan. Xing Chen regained his spirit and continued to investigate the person behind the accident 17 years ago and the recent accident. Man Ning helped him find the truth. Her father's transportation company had acted as a front, mediating and signing agreements at the police station. Someone was definitely pulling the strings from behind. Her father hadn't received any money for the transaction, but the money had been automatically transferred to her mother's overseas bank account. They only needed to follow this trail to find out who transferred the money and who authorized it. They spent hours reading through documents. Man Ning apologized to Xing Chen for what her father had done to hurt his family. Xing Chen, of course, forgave her because she had only been 6 years old at the time. He hugged her to comfort her. Afterward, Man Ning's father came to find them. He revealed a key detail. Even if Xing Chen relied on the documents from that year, he wouldn't be able to find the real culprit because he hadn't hit Xing Chen's parents' car. Someone had arranged for a different truck to cause the accident. When Man Ning's father went back to carry out the instructions of the person who had hired him, just as the two cars were about to collide, both cars swerved out of the way. Man Ning's father got out of the car to check the situation, when another car slammed directly into Xing Chen's family's car, causing the accident. Man Ning remembered that Xing Yan's accident had also been a chain reaction. Man Ning's father added that someone had called him and ordered him to take Man Ning's brooch. Based on this data, Xing Chen and Man Ning could deduce that the accident from years ago and Xing Yan's accident were both staged. This meant that the person following Man Ning and the person who ordered the brooch weren't the same person. Thus, the person who harmed Xing Yan, the person who kidnapped Man Ning, and the person who caused Xing Chen's parents' accident were not part of the same group. After finding this out, Xing Chen, Fang Xiang, and Yuan Shuai eliminated the irrelevant clues. Only one name remained on the board, Zhuang Kaishuan. The next day, Xing Chen went to Lanhai Corporation to buy back the company's shares. He confronted Zhuang Jiakai and exposed his dirty tricks, how he had planned to harm Xing Yan, kidnap Man Ning by mistake, set traps, followed her, and set fires. Da Yang, seeing that his good deed had been exposed, rushed over to explain and salvage the situation. However, Fang Xiang revealed evidence that Da Yang was behind it all. Realizing that things were getting out of hand, Jia Kai put all the blame on Da Yang. Da Yang refused to sit idly by and accused Jia Kai of running away like a coward. However, Jia Kai didn't expect that Xing Chen had evidence proving Jia Kai was behind the whole scheme. Enraged, Jia Kai told Xing Chen to go back to the Zhuang family and see Mrs. Kaishuan. Xing Chen and Man Ning went back to the Zhuang family. In front of his mother, Jia Kai recounted what Xing Chen had done to him. But Mrs. Kaishuan didn't care about anything related to Lanhai. She only cared about the Zhuang family. She stood in front of Xing Chen and told him he had no right to be in the Zhuang family and demanded he leave. Xing Chen took out the recording that Kai Zhuan had tampered with before, the one where she said he wasn't a Zhuang. She remained calm and said it was meaningless because his parents had died 17 years ago. Xing Chen was provoked by her words, but Man Ning helped him regain his composure. After being scolded by Mrs. Kaishuan about his pain, he went to the seascape painting in front of him and smashed it with a golf club. He vented his anger onto the painting. After destroying it, he approached Mrs. Kaishuan, making it clear that the accident that killed his parents years ago was her fault. But she remained indifferent, thinking that he couldn't do anything because he had no evidence. Before she could gloat for too long, Man Ning presented evidence, accusing Mrs. Kaishuan of causing the two accidents of Xing Chen's parents and Xing Yan. She only had one option: confess. Even at this point, Mrs. Kaishuan still thought she had done nothing wrong. Butler Guang Yi advised her to confess. He played a video of the late chairman. The chairman had long known that she was jealous and resentful of his sister's happiness, and had even attempted to murder her, but he wanted to protect his daughter, so he kept it a secret. He had hoped that one day she would repent But he had waited in vain, and she had only become worse. Even though he had been harsh on her when she was young, the Zhuang family always considered her to be one of them. It was time for her to turn her life around. Mrs. Kai Xuan said angrily that it was the chairman who had harmed the Zhuang family. Finally, she admitted that everything she had done was because she hated everyone. She ran away, remembering her childhood and how poorly the chairman had treated her. Mrs. Kai Xuan ran to the greenhouse and destroyed everything inside. Lu Mu Fan, following his father's instructions, quickly returned to the Zhuang family and brought back Zhuang Mai Xuan. Butler Guang Yi quickly recognized her. Mrs. Kai Xuan ran away, and Xing Chen and Man Ning followed her, trying to stop her. Man Ning was taken hostage. Just as Mrs. Kai Xuan was about to attack, Yuan Shuai rushed in and rescued Man Ning. At that moment, Mei Xuan called out Kai Xuan's name and slowly walked towards her. She persuaded her, revealing the truth. The chairman had long prepared another path for Kai Xuan, but she had been blinded by hatred and couldn't see it. After learning this, Mrs. Kai Xuan was shocked and didn't believe it. Mei Xuan hugged her sister and calmed her down. After everything was over, Xing Chen went to see his mother. He felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. The film ends with Lan Hai Corporation merging with his brother's corporation, Yan Lai and Lu Mu Fan, starting to get to know each other, and Mei Na and Feng Xiang experiencing a sweet romance. The flower garden in the greenhouse bloomed under the care of Man Ning and Xing Chen. The two of them were on the beach, cherishing their time together, exchanging words of love. The film, My Lethal Man, ends with all the characters finding their happiness, and the villains getting punished. The only one who hasn't found love is Yuan Shuai, so my chance has come. Keep watching this channel for the latest films. See you next time.